Yesterday, they were using words like imminent. The funny thing about that word imminent, though, there's no exact timeline on this. We knew it would take a while for a lot of these states to count these ballots, especially those vote by mail ballots. And those are really important because you look at a state like Pennsylvania, where we're expecting to see another drop of ballot counts sometime this morning. It's a state with a close margin, but it's also a state with a lot of vote by mail ballots. Those have been going for Biden in large numbers, and they could potentially be enough to put him over the edge there. That's why we're hearing such confidence from key Democratic members of the Pennsylvania delegation. One top Democrat in the state told our friends here at NBC that they've been getting texts from the Biden campaign about a celebration that's soon to come, but also the work that has to be done not soon after that celebration. In terms of the preparation for what that could look like, we've been here in this parking lot for 3 or so days now. It might feel more like years, but we've been here, and as we've been seeing the stage behind us, some lighting checks, some mic checks, signs of life here in this parking lot in Wilmington, where we saw Joe Biden give his DNC acceptance, and then also could be the place where he gives his electoral acceptance if he is, in fact, as he and his campaign team believe, about to be elected president of the United States. In the meantime, though, everyone is just waiting for all of those different ballot calls. But top aides are also reacting to the president's remarks last night, saying that they were desperate, baseless, and a sure sign that he's losing. Guys?
All right. Ali Vitale with the very latest from Wilmington, Delaware this morning. Ali, thank you so much.
Also waiting is the president. So let's turn to Trump campaign's side of this fight. Joining us now is NBC's Josh Lederman. And Josh, for the first time, we heard from the president in front of cameras since Election Day. He stood there at that podium standing by his threats of legal action.
Yeah, that's right. As the president's son calls for total war and his lawyers fan out across the country, filing lawsuits in these key unresolved battleground states, the 17 minutes he did not take any questions, but instead lobbed several falsehoods about legal votes, claiming that if only legal votes were counted, the president would easily win election. Take a listen to what he had to say when he appeared at the White House.
There are now only a few states yet to be decided. The voting apparatus of those states are run in all cases by Democrats. We were winning in all the key locations by a lot, actually. And then our numbers started miraculously getting whittled away in secret. But we think there'll be a lot of litigation because we can't have an election stolen like this.
And of course, none of that is actually factually true. The president was not up necessarily. It was always the case that the votes were going to come in later from votes that were cast absentee that needed to be counted after Election Day. And as far as those states being controlled by Democrats, that's not necessarily true in the case of Georgia, one of the outstanding states that is controlled by Republicans. But the president doubling down on this inaccurate rhetoric, saying on Twitter just a few minutes ago, I easily legal votes cast. The president going on in that tweet to complain again about observers not being allowed in, even though we know in Michigan bipartisan election observers have been in the room as these votes are being processed. The president continuing to say that the U.S. Supreme Court should decide. Back to you.
Yeah, and Josh, we'll see how far this fight takes him, especially the closer we get to getting all these votes counted. Josh, thanks.
As we stagger into day 3 of Election Day / week here, this year's Florida is looking like it's going to be Pennsylvania. No shortage of drama nor confusion over these counts. Joining us to make sense of it all, NBC News Digital senior political analyst Jonathan Allen. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Jonathan, trying to make sense of all of this here. So you were in Pennsylvania last week, so you know the ins and outs of how this process works. What's your sense of how things are playing out right now?
Well, Philip and Francis, great to be with you again. I think that the easiest way to look at Pennsylvania right now is that Joe Biden has been coming closer and closer with each additional batch of votes. And for folks who do projections on things like this, and I've got spreadsheets, we have a decision desk, they'll eventually make a call on this. What we're seeing is that Joe Biden's getting closer and closer to Donald Trump, and then, unless there was some sort of major shock in the votes that you're looking at from Philadelphia or even from around the rest of the state, Joe Biden is very much on pace to overtake Donald Trump.
Yeah, let's talk about that path there. If there's anything out there, any light for the president, especially with those gaps that we're seeing in the margins narrowing in Pennsylvania and Georgia as well. Would there be what scenario would there be that President Trump is hanging on to besides the legal action?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, basically at this point, he obviously has to win Pennsylvania in order to continue on as president. And if he doesn't do that, then it's over. Short of that, or if he wins Pennsylvania, he still has more work to do. The path to him winning the presidency at this point is like a black swan shooting the moon while doing a field sobriety test, right? I mean, like it's possible.
Yeah.
It exists. Arizona would have to be overturned. Basically right now, we haven't called Arizona, but other news organizations have. So he would have to win Arizona, and that looks like that's going to be tight. He'd have to win Georgia. That looks like it's going to be tight. The scenarios are really exist, but they are in the small minority of them.
Do you think he realizes that? Do you think that in his prepared remarks, very prepared because he was reading pretty much the entire thing from his notes, that he realizes that and he's looking beyond even a legal fight here? And I know this has been tossed around a little bit, even 2024?
There's certainly talk about him running again in 2024. Before that, he believes that there should be a legal fight and that he should win that legal fight and that it should be decided in large part by 3 of the justices that he appointed over the course of the last 4 years. The problem for him is that the Supreme Court, no matter who the justices are, tends to look poorly on what the rest of us would call frivolous lawsuits. And so far, there hasn't been anything filed by the Trump camp, or at least reviewed by judges so far, that has really put in question, the validity of votes coming forward. We still haven't finished that first count, and usually lawsuits involve recounts and contested ballots. We don't have it today.
John, what does the Biden campaign do from here as far as focusing their attention on fighting these legal battles in a state like Pennsylvania that is so consequential versus putting their efforts on a possible transition to train from a Biden campaign to a Biden administration?
Yeah, I mean, they have multiple wings or arms of that campaign. So there is a legal team in place. There are, hundreds of Democratic lawyers, if not thousands, that were ready to go on these questions. Bob Bauer, who used to be the White House counsel under Obama, is working on the working on the Biden campaign. They are answering lawsuits. In some cases, there was one appeal yesterday, and so they're ready to do that. There's a whole other set of people that are working on the transition piece and may also be working on putting together some sort of an agenda for Joe Biden should he be elected president. And again, we haven't called it at NBC yet.
Yeah, like you said, it's very important to note, yes, we have not made that call yet. Still a lot to look forward to. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but still very important questions to be addressed. And Jonathan Allen, again, appreciate you helping us out this morning.
Awesome, and let's have a drink next time.
Gosh,
hopefully that next time will be soon, because we don't even know when the next time is going to be, because all things considering, right?
You got it, buddy.
All right, cheers to that, Jonathan. Thank you. Let's turn now to the nation's coronavirus surge that has hit yet another milestone. New infection rates continue to